Alright, so apparently these AI generated videos have been getting really popular. I guess that was inevitable, but thankfully I'm not watching that kind of lazy garbage. And plus, it's not like it'll affect Bluey or any other beloved franchise, because there's no way people would just turn Bluey into this mindless, lazy slop. Surely that's not a thing yet. Oh no.
I'll teach you a lesson, you loser! Here's your airplane. You're my best brother, tralalero tralala. Like and subscribe.
So by now, I'm sure all of you are more than aware of AI, or artificial intelligence, as over the last few years or so, it has developed at a crazy speed, being able to do everything from writing scripts, replicating people's voices, and now, even doing entire drawings or animations. And overall, just the amount of things something like an AI program can do now is honestly insane. And this is coming from a dude who hasn't even reached Unk status yet. Like, I still cannot get over the fact that something such as Peppa Pig of all things actually predates my existence. And somehow that thing is still running. But anyways, regardless of what I think of that swine Peppa, I would still much rather see kids watch that over AI Brainrot. Which, yes, is of course now a thing. I mean, to be honest, considering how prevalent Brainrot is, and how easy it is to use AI for videos, I guess it was inevitable. And this isn't me trying to make a rant about all of AI, because honestly, some of the work can be kind of funny, in an at least absurd or weird way I suppose, such as those Brainrot nursery rhyme videos where they, I don't know, roast Drake or whatever, and at least there, I can kind of excuse that, because I wouldn't expect someone to actually sit down and animate Drake getting arrested in the Cocomelon art style. But with all that said, although I do find some of these AI videos entertaining, I can't act like I fully support them or think they're great, because for every funny, harmless meme, there's easily hundreds that are either just obvious cash grabs, or even just straight up misinformation. I really didn't know how to show an example of like how AI can misinform people, at least without getting political or controversial, but I decided to do a quick experiment where I basically just asked ChatGPT to describe some characters from the show Bluey, just to see what it can do. I normally never use AI in any of my content because personally, I do like to have a more genuine connection with my audience and my work, but I used it in this video only just to show examples of what AI is capable of, and also to showcase the mistakes it can easily make. And when it comes to describing the characters, it honestly did a pretty fair job, although it still got a few obvious things wrong, such as referring to Nana as Chili's mom, or implying that Grandpa Bob himself may have died, when we know that isn't the case because he appears in the sign. So yeah, AI can do things at a surface level and get basic tasks done, but when it comes to the finer details, at this point it can definitely still mess up or fail to interpret stuff in the same way we do, which is why I think people should be cautious about completely relying on it for doing work. And at a time where the internet feels more corporate and misinformation is becoming more common than ever, I think there is valid reason to be concerned. And of course, just like with the other problems I've discussed before, this issue is also a concern relating to Bluey, because over time, I've noticed more and more of these AI videos and images appearing in my feed, all featuring Bluey characters in various qualities. So today, I thought it would be interesting to check out some of these AI videos and see what these so-called creators have been cooking. And on the way, we'll even do a bit of classic roasting, because, you know, that's always a good time. So without further ado, let's begin. So I'm gonna be real with y'all, I didn't really have a strategy coming in on how to find these videos, but just by searching up Bluey AI on YouTube, I already got a few really bizarre results. Starting right off the bat, I found this channel simply called Bluey AI Animation. So they're not even trying to hide it, props to them for being honest, I guess. And overall, this channel is pretty small, with only about 500 subscribers.
Nice.
So you can accuse me of punching down on a small, innocent channel, but hey, in fairness, I'm not making fun of this person's content, because frankly, they didn't make any of it, a program did. So technically, I'm making fun of that, not the people behind these channels. Assuming that these channels aren't also run by bots, but anyways, this channel got my attention because the video ideas alone are just so weird, with them just using AI to draw pictures of the characters in various themes, such as dinosaurs, monsters, and of course, a Porsche 911 Carrera? Is that what this is? Oh, come on. Don't act like y'all forgot about the part in the sign where they turned Chloe into a Porsche. That one was a classic. And of course, on top of that, they also gotta represent my favorite character, Desert Crocodile with hat. Or, I'm sorry, the terrifying zombie crocodile. Ooh, scary. And okay, this one isn't even Bluey related at all. That is literally just Bumblebee. Even the AI didn't want to try with this one. But on top of all that, I wanted to showcase more of the titles too, because they're trying so hard to get kids to click on these videos that it just comes out being absolutely hilarious. With amazing works such as Bluey's Giant Zombie Rampage, The Infection Takes Over, Bluey GTA, Crime, Chaos, and Car Crashes in the City, Bluey AI Animation, Bluey's Dragons Rise, and then Fall as flesh-eating zombies, Bluey characters as giant cockroaches, Monster Rampage movie scene, ultra-realistic AI, and of course, my personal favorite, Bluey as zombie garbage trucks? You have to see this. Well, shoot, the title does say we have to see it, so I guess that's what we gotta do.
Bluey Healer!
Don't ask me what's going on, because frankly, I have zero clue. Like, what does this even have to do with Bluey? I mean, sure, the trucks do have some subtle references and clearly Bluey was in the prompt, but these are literally just furry trucks with zombies. Although, with all that said, I will give the AI credit for making the Snickers truck just themed after the candy bar. That actually got me, not gonna lie. And also, why is there just a giant werewolf just bursting out of Trixie's truck? Like, this is just Bandit's belt all over again, and I ain't got time for that, so let's move on. But before we do check out another channel, I actually really wanted to see this Chloe Porsche one. According to the title, it has insane drift animation, and it's also the horror edition, which honestly isn't saying much considering how cursed this is to begin with, but let's take a look.
Bandit Healer! Honey!
I think I just witnessed a crossover between Bluey and Cars, and I don't like it. I don't want to ever see this again. Like, why would the Cars need to have actual dog muzzles and ears? Is this what furries look like in the Cars universe or something? But anyways, moving on. So for our next group of abominations, we have this channel called The Adventures of Baby Bluey. And right away, we're already off to a really cursed start, because I already see a picture of Bluey being fattened up in one of the thumbnails. I guess they really did Americanize her after all. But regarding the actual video, I think there might be a plot to this one. Although said plot is just about Bluey getting fat, then exercising to lose weight, and that's it. That's it. So calling that a plot is like calling my YouTube career a job. It really isn't. And overall, this just kind of feels like one of those bad, fake kids cartoons all over again. Except instead of being done by some random dude on his computer, it's now just a soulless program churning this stuff out, which arguably is somewhat worse. And okay, admittedly, at least the animation isn't that bad, and the graphics aren't ultra realistic this time, but once you look at it for more than, I don't know, 5 seconds, you do start to realize that something is incredibly off. Whether it's in certain details missing, or the graphics getting blurry, as if the AI forgot to put its glasses on. But the craziest part is that this is arguably one of the most normal videos here, because looking at the shorts, we have such riveting plots such as Bingo's ice cream melting, rebuilding a broken snowman, and Bingo getting stuck in a hole that's like 3 inches deep. Crazy stuff, I know. And of course, just like all kids slop channels, we also need to have an episode where she gets a bad grade, despite being a baby. Like, what is she even getting graded on? Did she, I don't know, fail her crawling exam? What is the logic here? And then in between all of this, you also have these weirdly intense plots with her fighting giant demonic monsters. And also, for good measure, a video where she meets Pope Francis? Sure, why not? And in general, looking at these thumbnails, I feel like I should be impressed by their detail and how smooth the lighting looks from a distance, but at the end of the day, it's all just AI. And even then, that's completely ignoring the fact that most of the characters look like weird bootlegs, with them all having these weird off colors to them, with equally weird stilted movements to boot. And honestly, I would roast more of these AI cartoons, but surprisingly, I actually couldn't find that many. As when you look up AI Bluey on YouTube, it's mostly just voiceovers and other kinds of stuff, and not full-on AI content like we've seen. Although with that said, I still think that this is a problem we should look at because to start, I have a sneaky suspicion that some of these have been taken down, which is why you don't see that many, but knowing how many of these types of videos can be churned out with no effort, I really don't think that'll do that much to stop them altogether. And I do honestly believe that, with how much AI continues to advance, this type of stuff could easily become more prevalent in the future, which is why I believe we should be a bit worried about this, especially when it comes to the zero effort slop content. But in regards to what else I could find, I decided to look in an obvious spot, which are the memes relating to Trolero Tralala, and the other, I guess could be called Italian brainrot memes. I'm not gonna act like I'm even remotely an expert on this, but from what I've seen, these are basically just a collection of AI-generated characters that are just meant to be weird, such as a shark wearing shoes, a ballerina with a coffee cup head, and other cursed mashups that became big memes for some reason. And honestly, as much as I enjoy memes and even some brain rot here and there, this was honestly a trend that I never really got into. Like, maybe I'm just missing something, but to me, these really don't have any level of purpose, context, or even some sense of irony like the chicken jockey meme. I guess with these, the funny part is that it's just weird, which I guess is honestly how most memes are, but I don't know. This one just kinda went over my head. But Unk status aside, I knew for a fact that someone out there would be making something Bluey related to this. And unfortunately for us today, my senses were correct. Starting off the true brain rot here, we have this cinematic masterpiece I found. Tralalero, tralala, beat up assassin cappuccino to save Bluey? And in this amazing story, we have this stick creature, which from what I've seen is called Tung 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 Sahur, giving Bluey a toy. But then, oh no! Assassin Cappuccino steals the toy, and Bluey just runs down this giant empty city street crying? Okay. But thankfully, not all is lost just yet, because our hero here, Tralalero Tralala, squares up with a freaking bat and murders Assassin Cappuccino, I think? Seems a bit extreme just to end him for petty theft, but who cares? Because now everyone is happy, and Bluey tells the impressionable children to like and subscribe before fading into another plane of existence as the AI has a seizure. Peak cinema right here. Also, I love the fact that the channel is called Bright Mind, because this work is clearly the peak of human intelligence and creativity. Although, jokes aside, I've literally never felt older in my life until now, because no matter how hard I try, I just do not get the appeal of this at all. I mean, I guess the overly smooth AI visuals are stimulating enough, and it's crossing over two popular things, so maybe it is? And speaking of crossovers for the sake of crossovers, I've also noticed that there's a lot of these edits or YouTube poops too popping up, which all feature these AI generated characters, but now mixed with Bluey. And at this point, I think it's better if I just show examples, because some of these are just insanely cursed. And yeah, if I'm being honest, I've actually tried to give these videos a watch and they kind of confused me too. I've seen these so-called YouTube poops or funny edits become super popular, and I've always kind of wondered who they're actually made for. Because with the constant use of brainrot memes, flashy text, and all cap titles, it feels like it's trying really hard to appeal to kids, and yet, one scene later you'll have a character swearing, or a scene where Bingo just pulls out an adult toy for shock value, albeit censored, which in itself is then followed by a cheap poop joke. And overall, I don't mind people making YouTube poops that are childish or edgy, as I actually enjoy both types, but to try and feature these obviously adult jokes or moments, and then heavily market your content as a funny kids video, it just seems a bit weird to me. And regarding the channel that is perhaps the biggest culprit behind this, is the one called Below YTP, which while just seemingly chaotic fun on the surface, did have a surprising amount of inappropriate or even shocking material in their content. Much more than even the other channels I saw, which is why I used their clips as an example. And yeah, you could argue that they don't specifically say their videos are meant for kids, but when you take a look at the flashy thumbnails and the channel's description, promising quote-unquote clean content, which in my opinion is a blatant lie, I think it's very obvious these are meant to appeal to a young audience. And while looking through this channel's content further, I noticed that some of their older thumbnails, even if they're not made with AI, were especially disturbing, with the worst one featuring Bingo basically using the toy I mentioned earlier, with Bandit egging her on with this creepy, edited face. Now thankfully, this video doesn't have that many views, but I think that, to say the least, it's really messed up that something like this is not only available on a very public channel, but also one that is appealing to children. And honestly, good edits or not, there's really no excuse to go this far. This is just downright creepy and incredibly disturbing, even if it's just a thumbnail. And with Bluey's videos being some of the most popular, as well as some of the first you see when looking up these edits, I think it's very reasonable to be worried. Now with that said, I'm admittedly going a bit off track because apart from some of the new thumbnails, this really has nothing to do with AI, but I feel like I just needed to bring attention to this because of how concerning it is to see. And in regards to the other channels, they are thankfully nowhere near as bad as this one, so I don't really have as much to say about them. Like yeah, I can definitely do without the AI images and don't really care for the flashy brain rot, but besides that, they're honestly okay. And some of them actually do have decent editing that gave me a few laughs. So there's that to consider too. But anyways, that was my quick dive into AI Bluey YouTube, which is a thing that, at least in some capacity, now exists. And as I mentioned before, this isn't a super big issue, and there aren't as many examples as I originally imagined, but with the prevalence of AI in all media now, and the continuation of content slop, I think it's inevitable that this type of content will continue to flourish, at least if it's given the chance. And overall, as I mentioned at the start, I'm not completely against AI as a whole, because I do think it can serve useful purposes, and let's all be honest here, as imperfect and soulless as its products can be, this whole AI presence in creative works is not going away anytime soon. We can protest or boycott it as much as we can, but personally, I think we're honestly beyond the point of completely blocking it. But regardless, I do at least think that there should be way more regulation, because I do believe that in many cases, it is definitely being abused, because left further unchecked, these tools, while not inherently a bad thing, are being used by bad actors for a lot of malicious or deceptive purposes, the effects of which I think are already becoming an apparent problem. And while these Bluey AI videos we looked at today may not be as serious as the stuff I'm talking about, I still do think they represent a small piece of a much bigger problem still. And let's be honest, even if these videos are not directly harmful, they're still not that great, and just more lazy, careless slop, which is really the last thing we need. And with that, that's gonna be a wrap for today's video. Hopefully y'all enjoyed this ride much more than I did. Don't forget to like and subscribe until we reach 100k, and until next time, my name's Hideaki, have a great day everyone, and goodbye. So for today's art of the day, we have something a little bit different, which is this wonderful drawing by I Heart Applejack from Instagram. They decided to draw me as a pony character, and I just thought it was really nice of them to do this, so thank you very much.